Sup guys? I decided to make a video about the UFC 311 press conference and also about the Kevin Holland deal, I'm gonna be real, I just watched this shit like 30 minutes ago. I couldn't really get there when it was live. I was gonna do a live stream of me watching the press conference and giving my reaction, but frankly, not that popular yet. But anyways, I wanted to talk about the press conference. I mean, there were a ton of highlights, for sure. I think, for sure, MERAB and UMAR are still going at each other's throats. And honestly, it just made me think, like, maybe people are underestimating MERAB in this fight. I mean, I think, I'm just going to say this because I was just thinking about this. I was watching Dr. House, eating wings and drinking some soda because I'm addicted to fast food and sugary drinks. Destroying my health. I was thinking, damn, maybe Umar could win this fight. And not even could. I think he will win this fight. I just think that people are very much sleeping on MERAB. I think MERAB is a stylistic nightmare for Umar. Just because Umar has never fought anyone with the amount of pressure, the amount of cardio, and the amount of wrestling that MERAB has, right? And I think it stands to reason that Umar is going to come in here thinking this exact same thing, that MERAB is a dangerous guy. I don't think Umar is underestimating MERAB. I think the fans are. But I also think that MERAB can most definitely win this fight. Just because of the fact that Umar has not had his takedown defense tested, honestly. And I'm not saying he has bad takedown defense. But let's face it, Corey Sandhagen tried to take him down. He couldn't. But Corey Sandhagen doesn't know how to wrestle. So you gotta take it out of like a face value kind of thing. Also, the role MERAB has been, and he's defeated so many people. Like, he just destroyed Sean O'Malley. He destroyed Peter Yan. He destroyed Henry Cejudo. He destroyed Jose Aldo. And, I mean, he's just on a roll. He's on an 11-fight win streak. He's pretty much defeated all the big names in bantamweight, while Umar's pretty much only defeated Corey Sandhagen. And let's be real, Corey gassed in rounds 4 and 5. That was how he was able to get the win. Before that, it was actually very, very close. Corey was actually on par with Umar, and all the rounds were close. I gave Corey Sandhagen rounds 1 and 2, honestly, just because Corey landed the better hits and he was defending the takedowns. But Umar's striking is very much a dangerous thing. And I just think MERAB could win this. But apart from that, let's talk about the press conference. I mean, the press conference was nothing so, like, I think MERAB was really the only highlight of the press conference. We got to see Islam and Arman talk. They have a lot of respect for each other. They're not really at each other's throats. I think, Islam, there are rumors that Islam might have an injury going up to this Arman Tsarukyan fight. I don't know if it's true. I really don't know if it's true. I don't think it is true. But we have to see until the fight happens, because if he is going into this fight with an injury and Islam's hiding it, it's just a rumor. But if he is going into this, Arman will definitely win. Just because Arman's going in here the healthiest, and it's already such a close fight, stylistically. If Islam is going there with any disadvantage, he would lose the fight. And I think Arman will try to, if he does notice that Islam is having an injury, he will definitely use that to his advantage. Just because this fight is so close and these two guys are pretty much on par with each other when it comes to striking and wrestling, is like if one person comes there with a disadvantage, it's pretty much wraps. And I think that happened in the first fight, Just because in the first fight, Arman was going there short notice. If he was there fully prepared and maybe, had more experience, I think he would have beat Islam that night. But just because he had no experience in the UFC, it was his first fight, and he was on short notice while Islam was coming from a full camp, that fight was close anyways, and that's what I kind of see Arman kind of making. It's going to be a hard fight for Islam, and I'm not doubting Islam can win this. I just it just worries me with that injury, If he does come in there with an injury, will he be able to win? Because even against Poirier was pretty much, let's be real, guys. Poirier was not his best in that fight. He was pretty much already out of his prime. He was 35. And frankly, that man was thinking about retiring a long time ago. He was going in there. He gave his fight. He gave his best. But it wasn't the best version of Poirier. And even with Islam getting staff, he was still going. He was having a war with Poirier. Like, Poirier was landing really good shots. Rounds 2 and 4, and even the beginning of 5, he was getting beat up. Like, it was to the point where even though Islam was outstriking him, Poirier was landing the better shots. He was landing the more damaging blows. And frankly, he was the one slowing down Islam in the later rounds. But Islam was able to get that takedown, and that's like shows like he can still push through the difficulty. Even though he had staff and it was the 5th round and he was already getting beat up, he was still able to land that takedown, which is very impressive. But if he's going here against someone like Arman, who can defend the takedowns, who can wrestle him, who could pretty much knock him out, I see some problems. With the MERAB versus UMAR fight, like I said before, I think MERAB will win this. Just because I think UMAR striking isn't going to help him in this fight. I don't think he will be utilizing the kicks. He won't be trying to, he's going to struggle keeping this fight on the feet. If he keeps this fight, somehow is able to defend all the takedowns from MERAB, even though no one has. If an Olympic wrestler and Peter Yan couldn't defend takedowns, I doubt Umar will. Because he was struggling to take Corey down. I don't think he's going to take MERAB down, And MERAB's cardio, it's been proven to be a problem. This is what happens. In the beginnings of the fight, especially with Sean O'Malley, with Peter Yan, they tend to do a lot better. Henry Cejudo was out wrestling MERAB. But when it comes to later rounds, when they start to gas a little bit, MERAB still has that cardio. He still keeps going. I think Umar is selling himself very high when it comes to this fight. And that's what I fear the most. For Umar. When I'm talking about Umar, he's going to have to prepare to go 5 rounds with this guy. All nonstop. To defend the takedowns, to strike, to put the pressure on MERAB. If he doesn't do that, he's going to get overwhelmed. Peter Yan didn't do this in his fight against MERAB. He was getting pretty much backed up. And although he had defended most of the takedowns, he was getting gassed, he was getting pressured. Same thing happened to Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley couldn't handle MERAB's pressure. I don't think Umar will. But it goes to show, maybe Umar's different. But I haven't seen that. The Corey Sandhagen fight, I haven't seen Umar really be so... Because here's the thing. Before the Umar versus Sandhagen fight, I thought Umar was going to easily submit Corey Sandhagen. And the fact that he was going 5 rounds, close rounds against Corey Sandhagen, who was coming off of surgery, who hasn't fought in a year, and has no wrestling, it's just I was kind of disappointed. Because it shows he still needs to do more. He still needs to fight more. But now he's being shoot in for a title shot against probably the best bantamweight right now. It's just you should be glad that MERAB is taking this on short notice. And then I think that's his biggest advantage. The fact that MERAB just fought. Umar had time to prepare to this fight. After this fight, he knew he was going to fight MERAB. And he had time to prepare for this. But MERAB, I think MERAB can do well in this fight. I think he is going to implement a game plan to neutralize his striking, just because Umar's striking is really what's separating them. If Umar wasn't a good striker, MERAB would win. Easily. And I think anyone would know that. But the striking is what gives MERAB problems. And the same thing happened in the Peter Yan fight. A lot of people were saying Peter Yan was going to knock out MERAB, but no one has been able to. Same thing with Sean O'Malley as well. So I think MERAB is a very stylistic nightmare for pretty much any striker. But I'm not calling Umar a striker. I don't know about his takedown defense. Because it hasn't been tested to that level. He hasn't gone against a good wrestler. All of his guys that he's been going against before Corey Sandhagen were unranked guys who were primarily strikers. And even he was getting dropped by some of these guys. But now, after fighting a no-wrestling Corey Sandhagen, which, no offense, I love Corey Sandhagen. He's a good fighter. He's a great mixed martial artist. But you can't lie that Corey Sandhagen was limited because of the takedown threat, because of the fact that he hasn't fought in a year, and because of the fact he was getting off surgery. That takedown threat was immobilizing his striking. He wasn't able to do much, and that's how Umar was able to barely outstrike him. It's not happening with MERAB. I think Umar is getting very overhyped for this fight, and I think we're going to see a very big upset. And apart from that, because I need to keep saying this, because MERAB gets tons of hate. I'm not saying Umar isn't a good fighter, and I think Umar could win this. But the problem is like, when you're only basing it off his name and who's he related to, gotta look at it from how he fights. I saw his last few fights. It has not convinced me that he would easily dominate MERAB. And what I saw from MERAB's last few fights is that he is a problem for this bantamweight division. He is a very huge problem. His style works every other style. Even when Jose Aldo was able to defend all his takedowns, MERAB still kept that pressure and they couldn't do anything. Jose Aldo looked hopeless in that octagon. Same thing with Peter Yan. Same thing with Sean O'Malley. I just don't see Umar really submitting MERAB that easily. Maybe Umar could land a takedown. I just don't think so. I just think MERAB is going to be the one pushing the pace. He's going to be the one pressuring. I don't think MERAB's going to be on the back foot in this fight. I think Umar is. Because even against the Corey Sandhagen fight, Umar was not really doing all that much. You know, he barely won because he was outstriking Corey, but Corey had the takedown threat. And even then, he couldn't really take down Corey that much. He was struggling to keep him down. He was struggling to take him down in a lot of the rounds. I just don't see that with MERAB. I just don't. MERAB is a much more improved version in terms of wrestling when it comes to Corey. MERAB is a pure wrestler. He can defend the takedowns. He could definitely stuff the takedowns. And he could take down Umar. I think he could. I think MERAB can take down Umar. Umar's takedown defense has not been tested. And I think MERAB's pressure... You know what? MERAB could shoot 30 takedown attempts on Umar and he would land some of them. If he lands 3 of them, if he gets a 10% takedown average, it doesn't matter because he landed 3 takedowns. And Umar has to waste his energy defending these 30 takedowns. That's what happened in the Peter Yan fight. MERAB kept trying to take him down. Peter Yan eventually got tired. Umar is going to do the same thing too. He's going to gas out. And Umar's cardio is pretty good. But let's be real. MERAB's cardio is on a whole different level compared to Umar's. And I just see this fight being a lot closer. And I think this is very sided towards MERAB. I think MERAB will win this. And, you know, before the Sean O'Malley fight, I thought Umar was going to be champion soon. But after the Sean O'Malley fight, seeing out the past fights, the Peter Yan fight, and I rewatched that Corey Sandhagen fight with Umar, it's just like, if you watch those fights, you wouldn't be convinced that MERAB would lose. You wouldn't. Because there's a lot of emotions going into this fight. People are siding with Umar just because Umar's Dagestani and he's Muslim. You know, there's a very big Muslim Dagestani fan base here, and they tend to skew the perception. But I think MERAB is going to win this fight. And I think MERAB being a plus 230 underdog, I'd say log that in right now. I think it's plus 300 right now for MERAB by decision. Log that in. I'm logging that in. I think it's going to hit. So, for sure. And, you know, for the other fights, Yuri Prokaska and Jamal Hill, you know, Civil. I really respect what Yuri's doing, you know, helping that cancer patient when he heard about it. And it's nice to see Dana White even match what Yuri's donating as well. So it's like, it's just inspiring shit, you know. Like, Yuri's such a good guy. And Jamal Hill, you know, he's going in there. You know, he got booed by all of LA, which honestly is disrespectful, to be honest. Like, I get it. Jamal Hill's been salty, but he's still a good fighter at the end of the day. I think he's a chill person, but sometimes he does kind of get on my nerves. You know, Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush, it's all respect between them. They're actually the same age, which is actually crazy, because one looks like he's in his 20s, and one looks like he's in his 50s. But they're the same age. Like, they're only months apart. And, you know, Kevin Holland versus De Ridder. I don't know. I just think De Ridder might take this one. De Ridder's the favorite right now. I think that's justified. Just because I think Kevin Holland, it's really hard to bet on Kevin Holland. It's like, when you put him against a seasoned guy, like a really good guy, he tends to falter, you know. A ranked guy, for example, like the Marvin Vittori, and a lot of other fighters, you know. But when you put him against like some can or some unranked guy or some veteran, you know, he tends to do well, unless if it's Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So yeah, I just think Kevin Holland doesn't really take his performances seriously. He doesn't really try to improve. He just fights just to fight, and you know I respect that. You know he's trying to get his bag. He's trying to make some entertaining fights. He's never boring, but I don't know. I just think DeRitter might take this. I think DeRitter's more hungry. I think DeRitter poses that submission threat that Kevin Holland has. I just think Kevin Holland's takedown defense, especially against that Roman Dolidze fight, was very suspect, and Kevin Holland doesn't do well on his back. So I just think, in my opinion, DeRitter might take this. Anyways, let's talk about the Kevin Holland-Jackson interview. I mean, this is an interesting one. Beefing with Rampage Jackson. I think it's because Rampage said, like, him and Paige, like, holding hands or something looked like they were scissoring or something. I don't know. I just think it's just weird. Like, so I was texting someone. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was texting someone. Why am I texting someone while recording a video? I'm actually so fucking dumb. Anyways, like, you know, Kevin Holland just beefing with Rampage. In this interview was just very unhinged, man. Like, you know, I respect Rampage, you know, for keeping his cool, because, like, getting offended over a silly comment, like a silly joke like that, you know, I get it. Kevin Holland, you know, saying that your fight's like a scissoring thing, maybe a bit offensive, you know. I get a little bit pissed. But, you know, it's just jokes, especially with Rampage, it's just jokes. And I don't know, like, a lot of people just don't think Kevin Holland's like that guy anymore. And he's lost a lot of fans, especially after this interview. And it just sucks to see because, I mean, Kevin Holland's a chill dude, but sometimes he does kind of switch in terms of his personality. But, you know, that's the name of the game. Anyways, I just wanted to discuss about this shit. I mean, the press conference, it wasn't too bad. It was funny seeing MERAB start shit again. And, you know, I think MERAB is just messing with UMAR. I think he's just trying to get UMAR, you know, trying to make UMAR think that MERAB is like, that he's just too unemotionally unstable. Trying to make UMAR underestimate him, you know. Make him see less danger. It's like, it's the same thing what Ryan Garcia did against Devin Haney, you know. Make himself seem crazy and unhinged and weird, so like the other guy doesn't kind of lowers his defenses a bit, not really sees him as a threat. And I think he's doing that to UMAR just to kind of make him lower his defenses a bit, make him underestimate him a bit. For someone like UMAR, I don't think that's gonna happen, just because UMAR is just, you know, from Dagestan, they always take their fights seriously. So, but you know, Ryan Garcia did that against Devin Haney, and Ryan Garcia destroyed Devin Haney. I just think I'm seeing that same thing with MERAB. I think This happened with MERAB too. MERAB was messing with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley was just underestimating him, and then MERAB came in there and destroyed him. I just think it might happen with UMAR. And if he beats UMAR, we have to... Okay, last thing. If he beats UMAR, we have to put him in the discussion of greatest bantamweights of all time. And you know what? I'd say... Okay, before my greatest bantamweight list... Okay, before MERAB became champion, my greatest bantamweight list was Aljamain Sterling, Dominic Cruz, and Peter Yan. Those were my top three. But after beating Henry Cejudo and Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley and all these guys, you know, MERAB has to beat two right now. I think right now it's Aljamain Sterling, and you know, I think Aljamain Sterling and MERAB are kind of like a bit... They're like on the same page, like literally they are, but I think right now it's Aljamain Sterling, just because he defended his belt 3 times, which is impressive by itself. It's the most amount of title defenses at bantamweight, and he's done it against good competition. He did it against Peter Yan. He beat Peter Yan fairly in the rematch. He beat TJ Dillashaw, and then he beat Henry Cejudo. People like to discuss like, oh, TJ Dillashaw was injured, Henry Cejudo was out of prime, you know. It's like, but at the end of the day, you know, It's just facts. And with MERAB, if he beats Peter Yan, if he goes in there and beats Umar, he beat Peter Yan, he beat Jose Aldo, he beat Henry Cejudo, he beat Sean O'Malley, he beat Umar Nurmagomedov, and he beat Marlon Moraes. It's like, we gotta put some conversations saying maybe MERAB is the greatest bantamweight. Granted, it's one title defense. It's one title defense if he beats Umar. But let's be real. Who else is gonna fight? I don't think MERAB, if he beats Umar, he's not gonna live. If he beats Umar, MERAB is not losing that title. I don't think they're gonna give Umar a rematch just because Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley are getting the next title shot. I think, in my opinion, they're gonna give it to Sean O'Malley. But in my opinion, if I wanted to choose someone, next one, it would be Peter Yan. Peter Yan deserves that rematch with MERAB. He definitely deserves that title shot now after defeating Figueiredo. But I think MERAB is probably going to choose Sean O'Malley for the rematch. And in that case, I see him defending the belt against Sean O'Malley and Peter Yan. And if he does that, for sure he's the greatest bantamweight of all time. But I think even after beating Umar, his resume is probably the best. We have to insert him into the conversation of greatest bantamweights. That we have to, you know? And I guess, like, if I were to make a list, if he beats Umar, it would be Aljamain Sterling. It would be MERAB Dvalishvili, Aljamain Sterling, and then TJ Dillashaw. And that is the list. And Dominic Cruz would be 4. Just because Dominic Cruz is a legend in the sport, but let's be real, he hasn't fought that much. And his fall off kind of negates that. And he also did. And also TJ Dillashaw just, like, defended his title more. But let's be real, like, MERAB is definitely underrated when it comes to this fight. But that's all I wanted to say. Anyways, bye-bye.